Guess you have aces, huh? King? Yeah. Alright, once again, going to River Rock for a short session. You can see how it goes. My first hand in the big blind, I pick up ace-jack of clubs. There are 4 limpers before the action is on the small blind, who calls. Option is on me. Beautiful hand to start the day, definitely gonna attack all those limpers and dead money out there. I decide to raise it to $25 and everyone folds. Not particularly interesting, but a nice start nevertheless. This hand, I pick up ace-8 in the low jack position. There is an under the gun straddle to $6. The action folds to me. I decide to open to $20, and again, everyone folds. So I'm starting to see a pattern here. This hand, I pick up 4 and 5 of hearts on the button. There's an under the gun straddle to $6. There are 2 limpers before the action folds to me. My hand is not strong by any means, but seeing how passive the table is, and I do have the best position, I decide to utilize that and attack the dead money. I raise it to $30. Under the gun, the straddler calls, and the low jack calls. It's 3-way into a flop of 4-5 deuce rainbow. Under the gun checks, and the low jack bets $35. What an amazing flop. I managed to hit top 2 pair. It's actually a pretty dry board. There are no flush draws. It may seem pretty connected, but with a $30 raise pre-flop, there shouldn't be a lot of 3x hands in anyone's range. I don't think much protection is needed. The strength of my hand is definitely very hidden, and I decide to keep it that way. I flat call. The other villain folds. The turn is a 7. The villain bets $35 again. Now I'm sensing he's not in a very comfortable spot, likely a 1-pair type hand that hates being out of position, but doesn't want to check either. So he keeps betting small to pot control to showdown, essentially. I'm going to let him keep the betting lead. I call. My plan is to go for big value on the river because the board is not in my range at all, and from the aggressive image I've built, I might get called down, putting me on a river bluff. The river is a 10. The villain, once again, bets $35. To me, it's so clear this is a blocker bet, wanting to get the showdown. His line does seem like a 1-pair type hand, maybe middling pocket pair. The way I played it, I'm going to try to tell the story that I have ace-x going for the wheel draw and missed. So now comes my desperate river bluff. I raise it to $150. And the villain folds. This hand, I pick up 6-8 of clubs on the button. The low jack opens to $20. The hijack calls. The cutoff also calls. With the best position and great odds, I decide to call as well. The blinds fold. It's 4-way into a flop of king queen 7 with 2 spades. Everyone checks. The turn is a deuce. Everyone checks again. The river is a 9 of spades. The low jack checks. The hijack just mucks his hand. The cutoff also checks, and the action is on me. I only have 8 high, and I'm pretty sure that's not winning a showdown. The way the hand played out, no one is ever going to be very strong here, including myself. But I do have position. I don't think I need the most convincing story to tell, but just a good sizable bet to fold out hands like 1-pair or ace high. One of the villains mucking actually gives me a huge advantage because that's one less player to get through. I decide to go for it. I make an overbet of $100. And fortunately, it works out as everyone folds. This hand, I pick up ace-queen in the low jack position. There's an under-the-gun straddle to $6 and one limper before the action is on me. I raise it to $30. The cutoff, button, small blind, and the limper all call. It's five-way into a flop of king-king-10 rainbow. Everyone checks to me. Even though I do have a gut shot, and repping ace-king or queen-king is well within my range, it's a bit too risky c-betting into, well, in a multi-way pot, especially without position. I check, and everyone else also checks. The turn is a 5. The small blind now bets out $65. Under the gun plus 1 folds, and I also make an easy fold. This hand, I pick up ace-8 of clubs in the hijack position. There's an under the gun straddle to $6. There's one limper before the action is on me. I decide to raise it to $25. Everyone folds except for the limper. It's heads up into a flop of king-jack-7 with 2 spades. The villain checks. I basically completely missed this flop, but it does favor my range. With position, I c-bet for $25. And that's good enough to take it down. This hand, I pick up king-jack of diamonds on the button. Only the low jack limps before the action is on me. With a pretty nice hand and best position, I raise it up to $15. The small blind calls and the limper calls. It's three-way into a flop of ace-7 deuce with 2 clubs. Everyone checks to me. Although the ace-high board is technically in my range, I hit nothing with this board, not even potential for a backdoor flush. I think c-betting heads up is an option, but multi-way it's too risky. I check back. The turn is a 10 of clubs. The small blind now bets out $55. The low jack folds. I pick up a gut shot straight draw here, but the price is not great. I don't really have a good bluffing line if I miss, and with a flush completing, I just fold. This hand, I pick up pocket kings in the middle position. Under the gun limps, and the action folds to me. I raise it to $20. The hijack, directly to my left, immediately 3-bets to $75. Everyone folds back to the limper, who cold calls. Now that the action is back on me, I could just close the action here by calling and going to a flop, but with one cold caller piling in dead money, and the stack depth's just not that deep, I decide to put everything in here. I jam all in. The hijack calls pretty quickly, and that's when I know or suspect I'm likely coolered here. Under the gun thinks for a little bit, and also calls, I guess figuring he's priced in. As the board runs, I already asked the villain to my left if he has aces, which he confirms, and he also correctly guesses that I have kings as well. And in the end, aces hold, scooping a pretty massive pot. Not that it matters, but the other villain was in with king-jack. This hand, I pick up king-9 of clubs on the button. Only under the gun and the cutoff limps before the action folds to me. I raise it to $20. Only under the gun calls. It's heads up into a flop of 9-5-4 with 2 hearts. The villain checks. Awesome flop. I managed to hit a sneaky top pair on a board that's not in my range. I c-bet for $20. The villain calls. The turn is a 3. The villain checks again. This card does complete some straight draws with 6-7 or ace-deuce, but those hands are not too likely for under the gun limp calling range. I think he's most likely on a flush draw, which I unblock, or weaker one pair hands like weaker 9x, pocket 6s, 7s, or 8s, etc. I decide to charge full value against those. I bet $80, and the villain folds. This hand, I pick up 6-7 of diamonds in the hijack position. The middle position limps, and the action is on me. Not a strong hand, but I decide to ISO raise here. I make it $15. The big blind and limper calls. It's 3-way into a flop of queen 6-4 rainbow with 1 diamond. Everyone checks to me. Actually, not a bad spot at all to hit second pair with some backdoors. Checking back with showdown value is fine, I think, but I can also just have the best hand here, which could use some protection. I c-bet for $20, and everyone folds. This hand, I pick up pocket fours at under the gun +1. I open to $10. Middle position folds, the low jack 3-bets to $25. The cutoff and small blind calls before the action is back on me. I'm closing the action with great odds to set mine, so easy call for me. It's 4-way into a flop of 9-8-4 with 2 spades. Small blind checks. Amazing time to flop a set. I am not the aggressor here, so I decide to start with a check. The low jack, who is the aggressor, c-bets for $40. The cutoff folds. The small blind calls. Action is back on me. On a draw-heavy board with a bet and cold caller, I'm not looking to slow play anymore. I check raise to $120, basically setting up for a turn jam on most cards. The low jack calls, and the small blind folds. The turn is the 10 of clubs. The remaining villain is the pre-flop 3-better, so I'm just going to target overpairs here for value, or maybe ace-king of spades. I jam all in, and the villain folds. This hand, I pick up 8-6 on the button. There's an under the gun straddle to $6. Everyone folds to me. Definitely not a strong hand by any means, but I decide to open to $20, purely taking a shot at the blinds. The straddler defends. It's heads up into a flop of Jack-Jack-Queen with 2 diamonds. The villain checks. I have absolutely nothing, but with position, I decide to take a jab. I c-bet for $15, and that's good enough to take it down. This hand, I pick up pocket queens at the cutoff. Only the middle position limps before the action is on me. I raise it to $15. The small blind and limper calls. It's 3-way into a flop of 10-4 deuce rainbow. Small blind just leads out for $20. The middle position calls. Pretty good dry board for pocket queens. I do think I have the best hand most of the time here. And there's not much to protect against with no draws. And it's not like ace-king is betting out or calling on this flop. So I'm probably in a way behind or way ahead scenario. I don't want to blow off 10x or maybe weaker pocket pairs. I decide to call. The turn is a 3. Small blind now checks. The middle position bets $60. I think the turn is mostly a brick, and the middle position is pretty much repping 10x. The 3 does complete a straight draw with ace-5 and 5-6, but not super likely for him to limp call with those hands. I decide to call again, continuing to disguise the strength of my hand. The small blind folds. The river is a 9. The villain now bets $50. That's less than a quarter of the pot. This to me screams like a blocker bet, wanting to get to showdown. And while calling to go to a showdown with what's essentially one pair is totally fine, I think I have an aggressive enough image to induce a hero call if I go over the top. I have just called all the way so far. Any ace-high hand picks up a gut shot on the turn and misses a river, so I could potentially rep that line and now go for what I want him to think is a desperate river bluff. I would mainly be targeting ace-10 or king-10 to bluff catch. I go for it. I jam all in. The villain tanks for a while and then folds. This hand, I pick up ace-5 on the button. There's an under the gun straddle to $6. Everyone folds to me. I open to $20. Only the small blind defends. It's heads up into a flop of 5-9-10 with 2 hearts. The villain checks. I hit a pair, bottom pair. While my bottom pair can use some protection with a c-bet, the board is not in my range, and with my aggressive image, I think I need to slow down sometimes. Since I do have showdown value, I think this is a good spot to check back. I check. The turn is another 9. The villain checks again. Great turn card. The ranking of my pair doesn't change. If I was ahead, then I'm still ahead. I now go for a delayed C bet for value and protection. I bet $25. The villain calls. The river is an ace. The villain checks yet again. I'm pretty certain I have the best hand here. He either missed a draw or has some kind of pocket pair, and the ace would be a scare card. I decide to go for a tiny value bet, targeting a crying call from pretty much anything with showdown value, really. I bet quarter pot for $25, and the villain folds. This hand, I pick up pocket nines at the hijack position. There's an under the gun straddle to $6. The middle position and low jack limps before the action is on me. I raise it to $30. Only the small blind, who has a short stack, calls. It's heads up into a flop of ace-6-3 rainbow. The villain checks. I decide to check back here against a short stack. The turn is another 3. The villain now jams all in. I think for a bit. I think 3x is out of the question since he called $30 pre-flop. But is he jamming with a slow played ace or just going for it with air since I check back the flop? I think with the size of his stack, it's pretty close. I decide to flick in the call. The river is another 6. We table our hands, and I lose this one to ace-8. Well played, sir. This hand, I pick up pocket 10s at under the gun. I open to $10. Everyone folds to the button, who 3-bets to $30. The small blind calls, big blind folds, and the action is on me. Closing the action, I also call. It's three-way into a flop of jack 3-5 rainbow. Everyone checks. The turn is a 7. The small blind checks again. As played, I feel like I have the best hand often here. The button, the 3-better, kind of capped himself at something like ace-king, checking back the flop. The small blind is not likely going to have jack X checking twice. I decide to bet for value and protection. I make it $50. And everyone folds. This is the last interesting hand of my session. Here are the results of my session. Exact numbers will be shown somewhere. First of all, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Riley. Riley is someone who walked up to me during my session and just said, "Thank you for your content." And yeah, that just made my day, and I want to say thank you for that. It means so much to me. I am a nobody, and this channel has a really small audience, but I make these videos for people like you, Riley. And I just cannot stress enough how thankful I am. Of course, it's flattering, but also it means a lot, really reassuring when someone does come up to me like that. And it's always a little bit awkward when I'm playing poker because, well, I am probably in the middle of a hand, or I'm being dealt the next hand. And for Riley, all I could do was like turn around. I asked for your name and shook your hand, but I don't want you to feel like I brushed you off quickly, and I really want to say thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Back to the session. Very fortunate that I came out with a win. The biggest pot was the hand where I had pocket kings and I ran into pocket aces. I am curious about this. I want to throw it to you guys if you guys want to comment. What do you guys feel about folding pocket kings pre-flop? Is that ever going to be an option you consider at these stakes and stack depth? Me personally, I've done this a few times. That is, fold pocket kings pre-flop, both correctly and incorrectly. In this particular hand, I'm not sure if it would have turned out any other way. I don't know if I could have lost less if I just maybe flat called instead of 4-bet jam. With the queen high flop, there's other villain who had an open ender. He probably would have shoved, and I probably would have tanked called anyways. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys look forward to the next.